up the volume, pump up the volume, pump up the volume.
Pork chop sandwiches.
We shall never surrender.
Evil shenanigans.
Hey, have y'all ever seen anything and you just go, wow, that's fucking beautiful? Ooh. Yeah. Hey. Ooh, yeah.
Lover boy, no need to ask, he's a smooth operator. Smooth operator. Smooth operator. Smooth.
Okay, since we're past that, once again, been a great week. Glad to be here. Just got a couple things to talk about. Nothing really big going on. I tried to listen to some country music this week. And I'm from a country background, and I cannot tell you how much it sucked. It it was terrible. And it was like, alright, well, I can't remember the last time I even listened to the radio. I usually listen to talk radio, sports radio talk. And so there was, I crossed over to a country station, and the first thing I heard was like, it was like a Shania Twain song. I was like, okay, and then it went into, I don't know, I think it was like Jason Aldean, maybe, that guy that like ran like a little bitch at Las Vegas or whenever they started shooting, ran behind the set, didn't tell anybody there was an active shooter. Yeah, I think it was him. I'm not sure. They all sound the same to me, so it's just, it was just terrible. So I feel so sorry for people that listen to country music, but it's just like, bleh. Anyway, so just to dive right into, am I an asshole? You know, as we've talked about last week, driving. And there's so many of them that go into driving. Alright, one of the big questions is, are you an asshole if you get into the fast lane and do the speed limit in it? The answer is yes, because that's not what it's for. It's for passing. And I cannot tell you how many times I've gotten behind somebody, and it's just absolutely terrible. I hate that. Another one is the people that don't zipper. You know, if you have a yield, or a best way to explain it is a four-way stop sign. And it's not like a counterclockwise where one person goes. You sit there and you'll see one person go. And you'll see the next person. But then all of a sudden this guy's like, yeah, fuck it, I'm special, I'm going. And you're like, but another one is people merging into traffic, is the zipper. So, more likely one of the sides has a yield, but you just don't know. Whenever you're coming, it's hypothetical. Whenever you go up to it. And two people go, and you're like, alright, cool, I'm going to let two. No big deal. But somebody comes in, they know it's not their turn, but they just go fast. This happened to me the other day. And I'm letting one lady in. and I'm looking behind her, and there's another lady that's about to pull around her and cut in front of her and take her spot in front of her. That's when I cut around on the right and cut them both off. So, I mean, that's just something that goes out of, I mean, there's people going the other way to, like, piss you off. That really, really got me. So people that don't zipper, your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn. And I will go to death on this out. I'll die on that hill. I absolutely hate people that do that. So, and it's like, when I turned around, looked at my rearview mirror, what I saw was an Audi. I'm like, yeah, this bitch thinks she's better than me. So yeah, I cut them both off. So it's like, I'll go on a limb and say, if you drive a Mercedes, BMW, or Audi, the chances of you being an asshole are pretty high. Pretty high. So I'll just go ahead and leave that there. But your track record's not good, and if you want to argue about it, more likely you've already proven my point. So, yeah. So there's that. So yeah, traffic is one of the worst. I mean, you could definitely turn into an asshole really, really, really quick. Next one is putting items back in grocery stores. And yes, you're an asshole for doing it. So if you pick something up and you walk all the way up to the front, and you're like, oh, look, there's something better here. It's like, you don't want to walk the 100 steps it takes to go put it back. And I'm not going to lie to you all, I did it today. And yes, I'm an asshole. I should not have done that. So, yeah, there's that. So, yeah, once again, I can't get away from the weight and being a fucking asshole. So, here we are. Anyway, another thing I wanted to get into was a conversation that, and I know a lot of people may not be experienced this, but I have, is older women with different colored hair. So, like roughly in their 50s or their 60s, and they have pink, blue, green hair streaks in their hair. And one of the things that's really weird about that is that it comes out to be that I think that women are finally getting their free voice, that they can do whatever they want to. And growing up in the Deep South, and I'll say that because I'm pretty sure where I grew up in Texas was a little bit southern than most places. If you want to say that Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana are the South, yeah, geographically South is more Texas and Florida, obviously, but where men had control, older men had control over a lot of things that women did. Almost to the point to where it was disgusting. Where my barber still tells me that there's men that come in there and tell her, I want to take steel wool to your tattoos and rub them off you. And you're just like, wow. That takes a foghorn leghorn type arrogance to say out loud. It really does. We live in the 21st century here, so women can do what they want. Everybody can do what they want, unless they're, obviously is infringing on other people's life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. So if someone gets tattooed, that's fine. And it's just so funny. I'll never forget it. I mean, and this is, I'll just go ahead and end it with this. When my parents got a divorce, I moved in with my grandmother. And that will get into that story much later on. A very funny story about that. But there was a guy that was trying to date my grandmother. And whenever we moved in, my mother worked for Southwestern Bell. And she got a no shit caller ID that would attach to the phone, and you hang it on the wall so you can see who it is. And this guy, his name was Laxton, it would always call my grandmother. And if she did not pick up the phone, he was on his way over. And you're like, fucking why? Why? And it's like, he was, I want to make sure that you're okay. So this guy would just show up out of nowhere, but what the fuck are you doing? Well, I called, no one answered the phone. They're like, creeper, okay, fine. And even at that time, you know, you had that idea of people that do shit like that. They're like, okay, fine, whatever. So it got to the point my grandmother just started ignoring his phone calls. I was like, I'm not answering, I don't want to talk to him. And now it's like he asserted himself into my grandmother's life to make him answer the phone, because if he didn't, he was going to show up. But I don't know if it was an arrogance that he was like, well, if you don't take my phone call, that means that obviously, you know, something's wrong, and he was offended by it. But how dare a woman not answer the phone? It's just one of those things that just, the deep South old person mentality is just rancid with shit like that, you know? So anyway, I'm just glad that we're turning the corner on that. I really am. I really, really am. So, yeah, with that being said, anyway, one of the cool things, we'll get to our pictures here. My daughter asked me the other day, and she goes, yeah, I was looking at pictures of a whole bunch of, like, other service members, and I was like, Dad, I want to know, what branch did you serve in? And she said, please, let it be this one. So I was like, okay. Which one are you talking about? She goes, guy with the sword. So, yeah. Marines don't wear berets. We never will. And, yeah, she's absolutely right. We don't wear berets. We never wear berets. And if you wear a beret, that, I feel sorry for you and your service. I appreciate your service. Do not appreciate your beret. So, anyway, I just thought it was funny. She was like, Dad, you didn't wear a beret, did you? I was like, no, I didn't. I was like, thank God. Made my daughter happy. So, another one. We go into really bad marketing campaigns. And this is one of them. Munich fried chicken. Not the greatest. Not the greatest at all. No good. Okay. First thing, we're going to pull a no chance card here. And, yeah, hopefully we're getting into a new era of these no chance cards, because they just haven't been good. It's just been bad. So, we're going to pick this one up. No chance. Got it right here. Okay. It says, you're not certain, but you are fairly sure that you're dancing with a dude. Your boys are pointing, laughing, and Donkey Dong Doug and Squiggy are recording this activity. You have to pay them hush money not to tell your priest. Pay each player $100. Oh, yep. So, I can tell you straight up right now, no chance is no good this week. So what we're going to do, we're going to pull a card from the old community chest. See what it says. Community chests, let's see where... Okay, good. Here we go. Oh, and I'll let y'all know I have $3. This is one of the things I hope to God no one else will ever get. Your daughter has made it to her goal. She is the centerfold of this month's copy of Tiggle Bitties, Fairly Legal Edition. Everybody wants your autograph. You get bribes from everyone. Collect $1,000. Okay. Well. All right. Now on to the next best portion. This week's best shot to the nuts. There's that. There's always that. So, one of the things I wanted to get into was I was going through a couple memories, and when I was 14 years old, 15 years old, my parents got a divorce, 1992. We had to move out to a place called Bigfoot, and the school district I had to go to was Divine. So I had to go to a new school after being at one for God knows how long, and going through your freshman year. and then going to be a sophomore in a new school. I tell you, it's not easy. It's not an easy chore whatsoever, because if you went as a freshman, it's like, oh, cool, you get ground down, and then sophomore year you be where you need to be. But I had a certain idea of what I was already, because I was a freshman. I had to go as a sophomore, and I tell you on the life, yeah, it actually turned out to be the opposite. Like, no, you're this, not that. It's not what you think it is. So I met a lot of good friends. A lot of good friends. Let's put it that way. And this was a very rural area compared to where I came from. And where I came from was very rural, and now it's like 3 times more rural. My grandmother had about 1,000 acres out there, and of course, going out there with shotgun and 22 was no big deal. That's kind of just what we did. So, one of my good friends, and because of the activity, I will not name them. Once again, like I did on the last one. The guy that drives the truck is D, and the other guy is J, and I will be G. Will be those 3 individuals. We had a cabin up on my grandmother's other part of her property. It was split in half. It was a square, but it was split in half by the road. I think it was called the 173. So we had one half and another half. Okay. Well, on that cabin, we had bunks, so if it was wood, you just had to bring a sleeping bag. There was a wood-burning stove up there, and you could, go there and sleep on the property. And it was really, really cool. So we went up there, me and 2 other guys, and it all of a sudden came to the part where it was like, dude, there's nothing here to shoot. And we all had 22s. We need to go find something to shoot. So he goes, hey, let's go road hunting. If you haven't been road hunting, it is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. You drive, dude's in the back of the truck, you kick the shots, blah, blah, blah. Alright. This is later on. This is building up for the story. There's a guy, we had a game warden out there. We called him Scar. I think his last name was Watkins. I don't remember, but we just called him Scar. He was a, what I would like to call a dark green Marine, because he was a Marine. He was former, but he was, I can't say you're a former anymore. He had gotten out, he was a grunt, and now he was a game warden. And dark green means African American. And he had a scar across his eye. I don't know where it came from, never asked him, but this guy was as hard as a rock. I mean, he was the one that would come up to us. He would come out of nowhere. And just come out of bushes. And there'd be, whoever, how many of us there were, he'd come up and he goes, hey boys, let's go ahead and see them plugs. So if you had shotguns, you knew it. So you had to unscrew the front of your weapon and pull out your plug and hold it up in the air, just to make sure you didn't have any more extra shotgun rounds than what you should. And this guy was a ranger by the epitome of the word. He was always out there, and he would be on our property. He had all the right to be out there. He didn't have to ask permission, and he exercised that right pretty well. But this guy would also put out fake deer on the side of the road. So, and it had a cloud or a something that pop off or make a noise or something, and they're going to chase your ass and go road hunting. So we were entering into this realm. So we were in Scar's world. So what we did, we just made sure whatever shot we took, what he did, his little decoys had reflective eyes, and that's what he looked for. Anything that would reflect off Q-beam. And the Q-beam was really funny because it would be off candle power back then. Now it's lumens. But it was like 1.5 million candle power, whatever it was, off this Q-beam and go to your cigarette lighter. Another thing that doesn't exist anymore, showing my age. But we're driving around, we're taking a couple shots of things we think are pretty good, nothing. So it comes to a point where my friend D, who's driving, me and Jay, have the rifles, and he goes, "Hey, look, you guys, I'm gonna drop you off here. We got a lot of traffic coming in. Y'all jump the fence. Y'all go up the, and see if you can get something. But we get a lot of eyes up there on top of this hill." So it's hard to explain. It's maybe about a quarter mile wide, and it's cornfields. And of course, we're in the middle of a down season. Everything had just been cut down because of the harvest, and there's a road going to the center of it. Excuse me. Jay goes to the left, I go to the right, and we're low crawling. So we jump this barbed wire, and we're low crawling. So we've got our rifles, and we're moving forward. I mean, it's like natural. It's obviously not military background, but and we're crawling toward this, and then that's when Jay, who is now about, I would say about 100, 150 feet away from me, he's looking up, and he gets his flashlight, flashes it up there, and sees two eyes. And you can hear him go, "Gee, hey, I got a shot. I'm going to take the shot." But this time I'm like, "Bro, take the shot, man. That's what we're here for." And D is already driven off because there's cars coming. So we're waiting in between the cars passing for him to take a shot. And I'm just here to see if I can take a shot. I don't have a shot. He has it. So now, whatever it is we hit, I'm here to help him carry it off. So, and let you know, there's no alcohol. We haven't been drinking. We're 15 at the time, and we the only thing is our age. We don't have any. So anyway, I'm sitting there, and I'm waiting for him to take the shot. God dang it, he take the shot. The fuck, man, until finally you shot taken. He took it. And all I remember is seeing there, and he had his light on, and all there was this, he got it. Whatever it was, he got it and laid it down. I was like, okay, good. All right, let's go get the fuck out of here. And then, not to mention on top of it, it's December. It's maybe about 21 degrees outside. So we're good. We're okay for the most part. But at the same time, as soon as we took that shot, a light came on. There was a house up there at the top. And whoever was living there is now going to the truck, because now we see the truck lights come on. And and the only thing it's maybe about a quarter mile up that road. So I'm looking over at Jay, and I was like, "Jay, we need to get the fuck out of here right now." So all I remember is it's pitch dark. Our guy hadn't come back. D hadn't come back to pick us up. So that's why I call this the Yancey Extraction, because number one, I don't know where we were. I think it was Yancey, not too sure. And if you look at that whole map of Bigfoot, Yancey, Divine, Pearsall, all that, I'm pretty sure it was Yancey. So we're trying to get back. We're trying to get the hell out of there. So I remember I picked up my rifle, and in fact, instead of slinging it, I held it because it was faster to move with it in my hands than it was, trying to hold it here at on your shoulder. All I remember is seeing Jay jump the barbed wire. He made it there way before I did. And at that time, that's another thing he had to be afraid of. Where the hell is the barbed wire? It's pitch dark. And at that time, I could hear that B8, that guy coming down that street. He was getting closer and closer and closer. So I was like, fuck. And then right then, I see D's headlights come up. He pulls over, and Jay just jumps in the back of the truck. And he pounds on the back of the window, just go. And of course, you can double pound on a car. You know exactly what that means. So D hits the gas. And of course, they're like, "Where's G at?" And it's just, because I guess I was a little bit further up than he was. I remember from there, I grabbed on the post, held on my rifle, kicked my legs over that barbed wire, and made it over on the first shot. I don't know how I did it. So Jay reaches out for my hand, and I'm running, and I just reach my hand out. He reaches his. He pulls me, and By then, he's able to get me to the bumper, my feet on the bumper. I put one right next to the ball, so I'm standing on it now. I'm able to get my left hand, and with my right hand, I'm able to handle my weapon and pull myself up and flip over into the tailgate. And all I remember at that time, we were moving so fast. Okay, well, the guy that's coming down the street to come see what's going on drives right through his front gate. He has a grill guard, and he has busted his front gate wide open to his property. And we're sitting in the back of the truck watching this happen, because when he hit it, sparks went everywhere. And it was like, it was an amazing sight. So all I remember is that Dee's driving, and then that's when he turns off his lights. We just went dark, and we're moving. I swear, I think we're doing about 95 to 100 per hour. And we're in the back of this truck, and it was like, wow, how shit has changed in the last 3 minutes. So, anyway, so now we're crawling into the back of the truck through the beer window in the back. And we're now sitting, it's a dual cab, thank God. And we're moving. That's all I remember, is that we're fucking moving. And he tells her, hey, look, get that Q-beam, shut it through the window of the front, and get it on the street so I can see where the hell I'm going. That gets better than the headlights. So we're doing that, and this guy it seems like he's gaining on us. And I mean, he's not too damn far away. So finally, we take a turn, and whoever that guy was chasing us didn't see us. So we were like, fuck. We just diverted something, and this, you could tell this guy probably really wanted to fight, so you're like, alright, fine, whatever. So, everything's cool. We go back to the bunkhouse. We eat, because we had food, and the next morning we got up, and we just kind of said goodbye and did our thing. Well, Monday when we went to school is when we found out what happened. Good friend of ours, and because of his last name, I'll call him B. And we were just talking to him, just this, that, and the other thing. And it was like, finally he just asked us, like, hey, what the hell did you guys get into this week? And it was like funny he would ask them. Not much, because you don't do run things for the big news, like, a little bit, no, it's that big of a deal. And he was like, alright, where did y'all go? We told him what happened. Fuck. Because you guys shot one of my uncle's Angus bulls that he had on his property. He was a prize winner and this, that, and the other thing. Because he was fucking pissed. And to tell you the truth, he's still pissed. And he finds that VR, he's gonna fucking kill him. And we're like, anyway, so he was like one of those guys that was cool as shit, so he didn't say anything to his uncle, thank God, but, you know, it could have got 3 times worse than what it was. So, anyway, yeah, that was really a pucker factor growing up, and because I call it the Yancey Extraction is that we're waiting on this guy to come pick us up, and we're running toward the barbed wire, and then we got into the truck and took off. And it was, you know, it was like one of those things that, you know, it was like, why in the fuck did we put ourselves in this situation? This is so fucking dumb. But anyway, that was that, and yeah. Anyway, so one of the things we were talking about earlier was the presidents, and yeah, Polk, we're on Polk now, and Polk is definitely one of the, by definition of what he planned out to be one of the most successful presidents of all time, without a doubt. And you hear all these presidents come in, and it's like, yeah, we're going to take care of this, we're going to take care of that, and, you know, and just to get votes. Polk's like, no, fuck that. What I'm going to do, I'm going to come in, you're going to give me 1 term, I'm going to come in, and I'm going to take care of these things. So, number 1, he wants order. So, okay, Oregon, Washington Territory. And then, and this is really weird, because this is like so scattered, because a lot of people say, no, he wants California, it's like, no, he wants Texas. And like, okay, well, Texas is more more central because that the whole New Mexico territory and California territory are attached to Texas and Mexico. So Mexico is where you need to make the argument. So he's going to bring in Texas because that's what Tyler started. He stirred the hornet's nest to get everybody all excited about it. Okay, you want an independent treasury, so in that way for the federal government, that means I'm going to do the treasury, and he wants to lower the tariff. So he understands lowering the tariff is going to make the southern people happy because that was one of the things that Calhoun had a problem with, and of course, a lot of people from the south have a problem with the tariff. It's like, we're sending our shit up to you, y'all are shipping it out, y'all are collecting the tariff, and are y'all giving us all of the tariff back? Can't really fucking tell. So, anyway, first things first, we bring it up to the British and tell them, hey, look, we want the 54 parallel, and so they're like, no, we're going to give you I think this is a 50. But the whole argument was 54, 40 or fight, and it came down to where he gave up a certain amount where he was kind of a very, very cunning person. So he said 54, having no problem with the 50. So when they gave him the 50, he's like, I don't know. All right, fine, fuck it, I'll take it. You know, and you're like, and he just goes and he just got thrown in the briar patch. That's exactly what he wanted. Anyway, so that really puts a really good book in on the whole British and American. Let's call it names, all right? This is a gentleman's accord. We're good, and just call it a day, right? So, with that being said, we offer, and I think it was either 13 million or 16 million to the Mexican government for Mexico. Now, for Texas, excuse me. And the biggest thing is that, yeah, Texas did win it. And the problem was, and this is something I had to think about, because it just all of a sudden comes out of nowhere. It's like Santa Anna claims that he was under duress when he made that deal. And I'm like, you know what? Fucking he was under duress. It was his life. He gave up that. And I'm kind of wondering what the legal precedence is in that. The jurisprudence in my mind just started turning, and I'm like, I don't know if that's fair or not. Even though it's war, right? There's really not that many rules in war, but he makes the argument. So, of course, what we do, we decide to enter it in diplomacy. So, it's like, okay, we'll give you 16, and then like, Polk is one of the guys who's like, all right, fine, it's fucking war then. And it's, like, okay, that's when you kind of, Polk is a Jacksonian through and through. They called him Little Hickory, Young Hickory compared to Old Hickory. So, yeah, he's Jacksonian in thought and process. So now he is going to raise the army, and I think it was like 70% of the armed forces at the time, send them down to the Texas-Mexico border. I think it was like close to Matamoros, and basically just prepare for war. And it gets so bad that then the Mexican army actually shoots first and starts everything because they're just sick and tired of the harassment and all this other shit. So basically this whole thing was kicked off by Mexico. So so there's that. So yeah, one of the biggest deal is that the argument of the Mexican army, the Mexican government, whenever it got close to the settlement, is that the Mexican government was claiming the Nueces River, I don't know how you say that, Nueces River, Nueces, let's call it Nueces, that sounds great, to be the bottom river of Texas, when they know damn well it's the Rio Grande that cuts it down. And so that right there is another point of contention, because there's like, all right, yeah, with this, for 16 you get the Nueces, but they didn't offer another one, they just went to war. So there's that. It's time for war. So so if you're a fan of Marines, the first line of our Marines hymn is from the halls of Montezuma. So it's kind of like when you went to go see Pearl Harbor in the movie. You kind of know what's going to happen. And so obviously there were Marines in Montezuma, the halls of Montezuma. So old time Chapultepec, Mexico City, whatever you want to, no, Tenochtitlan, whatever you want to call it. You know that there's U.S. members, armed members, and the capital city. So it's not hard to believe exactly what's going to happen, but just how long it's going to take. And so, yeah, and that's what it comes down to. So what these people that go down there are the class of West Point that the stars fell on, is what they talk about. So all the individuals that this whoop ass in the Civil War are all going to cut their teeth on this war. So you're talking about Beauregard, Meade, Longstreet, Lee, Winfield Scott, Stonewall Jackson, Lee, Grant, Pierce, believe it or not, Franklin Pierce, actually, one of the former presidents that I'll talk about later, actually was in this as well. And yeah, so it's McKinley, Zachary Taylor is another one who's about to be the next president we talk about. So it's just this is almost like I guess you call it like a Big Bang centrifugal area where everybody comes from, and a lot of people that are going to come from that actually shape our nation later on down the road. So this is a really, really, really cool situation. I don't mean a cool ass war, but just how everybody ran into each other here, how they knew each other. So obviously Robert E. Lee is another one that comes out of this, and he shows Now, one of the biggest questions, being a former military member, is to ask people, all right, what was Robert E. Lee's MOS? And that's kind of like, general. So, soldier, it might be a grunt, so Marine Corps 0311, and like, it was 12 Bravo, something like that, whatever. But, no, he's an engineer. He's a damn engineer, and he's damn good. So one of the biggest deals is later on down the road when it was like the Mexicans retreat and leave several areas open, and Veracruz and Cerro Gordo is where this actually happens. Is they leave mountains open because they don't believe anybody can get the artillery up there to these mountains to actually lay barrage onto their forces. Well, Robert E. Lee is like pretty much like, hold my beer, and he gets everything up there, and of course he gives them an ass pounding up there. So that was one of them. So one of the things, and it's really weird because the way it's always written, and the way I've always read it and took it, was that because we had to go through all this bullshit that Polk has said, all right, fine, since we have to do all this shit, we're going to go and take New Mexico and California too as well. So it's like, wow, I mean that adds a third of what we had to the real estate that the United States are doing. And yeah, so I mean they get beat in Mexico, and yeah, and one of the other things I found out that later on down the road, because Henry Clay is going to play a big part in politics from Jackson. Obviously, he's the one that got Quincy Adams elected and was Secretary of State for the correct bargaining and shit like that. Well, I was always wondering, why in the hell did that happen? Why did he hate Jackson so much? Well, come to find out, when it came down to the War of 1812, Jackson called the Kentuckians cowards. And, of course, Henry Clay was from Kentucky, and that really pissed him off. And, of course, Henry Clay wasn't a fighter. He hated the fact that his son was a general, not a general, but went to West Point and was a leader of American forces. And couldn't find out his son died, Mexican, Mexican-American War, and went to the White House to talk to Polk about it. And come to find out they had a very, very calm conversation about it, where they got to know each other and talk peacefully and stuff like that. So anyway, that's that. So Polk gets Texas through force, and it's like, when it comes down to getting property for the United States, I really don't give a damn if it's force. But then again, at the same time, there's a deal later on, and this is one of the reasons why I'm so comfortable with this, because Santa Anna is just, he's a piece of shit. He really is. So he's in exile because Mexican governments is so sick and tired of it. It was like, bro, you gave up Texas for your own life, man. It was like, you still have to deal with your ass. And of course he was a peacock, and likes to walk around with a uniform on and his medals that he gave himself, and it's just like he really didn't. And of course now he's a governor, and blah blah blah, presidente, and all this bullshit. So they get to exile. He went to Cuba. So he has communication with the United States and, hey, look, if you let me come through, let me travel through and let me get back to Mexico, I swear I'll take care of this rabble, and in the war we'll take your money and we'll end this right now. And of course he gets back and he goes, I fucking fooled you, and he's like an asshole. God dang it. So now it's just like we're getting the same. This is it seems to be the third. So anyway, that the United States ends up winning. They sign the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, and of course Texas becomes state and is now belonging to the United States. So, and this gives us lead for the first time. Now, one of the things I've found, I've read a lot about Robert E. Lee and how well he was, how good he was, and obviously I know a lot about American folks. But I've had to stop and think. It's like, nobody has given the United States more trouble than fucking Robert E. Lee. I was like, well, no, what about Ho Chi Minh? I was like, no, not really. I mean, it was Ho Chi Minh. Well, what about, like Hitler? Like, no, not really. And it just took a couple of years, and it's like, we had to starve Robert E. Lee, and he inflicted probably the most damage when it came down to anything. When it came to hand-to-hand combat, and just tactics, and not to mention just failures of generals that we had, and it was just absolutely terrible, so that Robert E. Lee turns out to be like Osama bin Laden, but he's actually, he's ours. So it's funny as hell as that. And not to mention Stonewall Jackson was another one that was just kicking our ass. Kicking our ass. And of course they're our own people. So when it comes down to American strategy, we're pretty fucking good at it. So the worst guy that we ever had was us. So yeah, that's just a funny thing to think about when you think about it. Spring. So anyway, next one is going to be, well, let's put it this way. So Polk gets everything done that he said he was going to get done. He had like 8 months to spare, too. It was just like, wow. So he lowers the tariff, so that way, the South can be a little more happy with what's going on. He actually establishes a new independent federal treasury, so an individual bank, so we're good there. Brings Oregon on, that was his first case of business, and then he brings Texas, California, and New Mexico territory. So now it's really strange because now we're kind of, everything else that we're going to bring in later is kind of encircled in this area we already got, so it's almost like a no-brainer that we're going to get it all. So that all happens. And one of the cool, weird things about him is he's a very short guy. Right? He's short. He's taller than I am by 2 inches. So he's 5'8", and very frail. He's not like one of the guys that's going to come in there and slap the shit out of your back and go, hey, you son of a bitch, how are you? No, he's not going to be that guy. He is just real quiet and, So his wife, feeling that nobody would know he in the room, would say, all right, well, why don't you have the band play this song called Hail to the Chief? And that's what she does. And then it's something that stuck on forever because he was such just a dark horse. And, of course, with him being the first dark horse, too, as well, is that no one knew who he was. Little blah. Anyway, so he comes in, and that's really much it. And after he gets out, like 90 days later, he's dead. And it's just like, dang, alright, well, does one term, gets out, and he's dead. So I don't really know what to say there. So Zachary Taylor is going to be the next guy, and Old Rough and Ready. Now, Rough and Ready is called that because of his slovenly appearance. It's just schleppy. And the really funny thing is he's taken all the pictures you see are in his uniform, and he really didn't like it here. He didn't wear it much. He took it like a thing like, hey, look, sir, we're going to have a portion of you. He put his uniform on. Of course, that's when he was in the White House, too. He put this damn uniform on. Because, like, a lot of these guys that were generals rather be called general, rather be called president. But with him, he just very sloppy. And it just, they said he'd wear, like, a straw hat instead of, like, whatever hat they gave him, a green coat, getting his horse. And kind of find out who's another short president, too, as well. It was so bad, he couldn't even get on his horse. He needed to get on his horse because his legs were so, squat. So he had a very long torso. Although it doesn't take very long to figure that out. So he would need help getting on his horse. So he was another one, just real generally. That's what he wanted to be. So not really a special guy, and he doesn't live very long. It's only like 2 years, and of course he brings in Millard Fillmore, who is just... And the weird thing about him and Fillmore, they really didn't like each other, and they didn't really even meet each other. It was kind of like one of those things that was put together. Their presidency and their term were put together by people on the outside that thought that, more than likely with him being from, a southern idea that in a very big slave owner, probably one of the biggest we had was Zachary Taylor, that having somebody from New York like Millard Fillmore kind of balance the ticket. And, of course, with everything that happened with him, Zachary Taylor's really not a special guy. He kept his horse Whitney on the White House lawn, which is pretty cool. He's a general and didn't want to leave his horse, so on. Some ties to his horse, which is nice. But so what happens is with him is that he goes to the groundbreaking, the Washington, right there. So he goes in and watches that. And this is where a lot of the argument comes into, because you'll see it later on. It was like with it being 4th of July, that it was really hot. He wore a coat, and then he suffered from heat exhaustion. Another one I heard is that he comes home, eats a whole bunch of cherries and chilled milk, and gets some sort of intestinal, it contracts some sort of intestinal syndrome, whatever you want to call it, a sickness that got from certain things that were on fruit at the time. And it's, okay, he got heat exhaustion or that. All right, then there's another group of people who said that he was poisoned. Because later on down the road with the whole thing with the South and him not being the greatest of... He was a slaveholder, but he didn't have sympathies for slave owners. It was weird. So a lot of people thought that he was assassinated by the South poison. So anyway, he falls sick, and like 6 days later, he's dead. That brings Millard Fillmore into the White House, and a lot of people are just like, who's this guy? Damn it, okay, well. So the really funny thing about him is that the idea that he had been poisoned lasted for so long that in 1991, his body was exhumed, and tested for foul play, and it came up negative. And I think it pointed toward the heat exhaustion that beat the stomach illness or the intestinal illness that other people thought he had. So it's just a damn mess. So anyway, next one is Millard Fillmore. And anyway. Okay, so Millard Fillmore's in. And at this time, it's only the second president to get in by basically the death of a president. So him, Tyler, so now he's in. He's a good guy, but it's just, once again, he is deer in the headlights when it comes down to being the president. Holy shit, I never thought I would have to do this, and here I am, blah, blah, blah. So, biggest thing that comes around is that obviously new states are coming in, and the biggest argument at this time are states that are coming in and becoming slave or non-slave states. So, a lot of people are clamoring for, obviously, for abolition. The other ones are going for slave states, and other ones are going for self-determination. Let the states actually determine what they want to be and whatever else. So there's a big bill that comes through, and there's always 5 points. I mean, it's like 5 big argument points, and of course, it's never going to pass because of certain things. So Fillmore. He actually, with his power and his clout, he's getting them to break it up into 5 different bills. So, 5 different bills, and it's called the Compromise of 1850. So what they do is they break up this bill. In other words, California is coming into the Union, just like New Mexico and Texas, so at this time. So, California is told that it can be a free area. Okay, fine. It makes everybody happy, group, all right? Then New Mexico and the New Mexico territory is going to come in as self-determination. That makes those people happy. Boom. Texas comes in and they're like, okay, number one, the borders are set and the slave borders are set. So it is going to come in with set borders against the Mexican government, and if you look at Texas, Texas has held several, different layouts and borders and shit like that. So it is going to come up as a slave state. So that was one of them. The other one was D.C. is the Washington D.C. is going to come in as no slaves, and then the last one is the Fugitive Slave Act is going to be escalated, and this is something a lot of people hate, because that means if a slave escapes, that is now going to be escalated on the federal level to return them back to where they belong. So Millard Fillmore goes out of his way to show that he absolutely fucking hates this bill, but he is so happy with the other 4 that he'll sign it with his, basically holding his nose. So that happens. So the one really cool thing about Millard Fillmore, he's an intellectual. He likes to read. He came from a very poor area, and he always tried to make sure that everybody knew what he was. So very well dressed, and he'd probably spend all of his money on clothes to make people thought he was a gentleman. And one of the things he did love to do was read. And of course, with that being the media of that time, so the internet, video games, whatever, this actually appealed to him. So when he was in office, he did get, I think it was roughly $1 million budget to up, the way that the White House looked, this, that, and the other thing. And of course, he built a new library, a presidential library. So he loved learning so much that he married his teacher. That brings that question. Why is it all the teachers that sleep with students are hot? I don't get that. I really don't. And I promise you, if you get the opportunity that you hear or just read that a teacher slept with a student, I guarantee you they're hot. So, yeah, I'm just going to leave that there. And every time I see it, I look and I'm like, yep. Smoke show. Yeah, she's fucking hot. I don't even know why she's doing it. So, anyway, yeah. So there's that. So after he leaves, he's another guy that the party just doesn't want anything to do with him. He completely went against, with the his party with the compromise of 1850. So a lot of people are like, no, you just actually get caught here. We don't want anything to do with you. So Pierce comes in, and Pierce is all right. Pierce's dad served with General Washington in the Revolution, and Pierce he's just a weird character. He's just a full-fledged alcoholic. Him and his wife are at odds because not a single one of their kids lives past 11th. And the last one was Benjamin, I think was his name. Just a couple days after Pierce won the presidency, they were on a train, an axle broke, and their kid Benjamin got like decapitated, like right in front. So very, very brutal, just a hard existence. But Pierce is just he'll sign pretty much anything that's been put in front of him, and I would go on the ledge that he escalated the Civil War just because of things he did and did not do. It's just he was so empty, and he said the only thing there was to do in life was to get drunk now, and of course now he's in the White House. So there's so many things about him. One of the things that was weird about him is he did not take the oath of office. He took the certification of office. He felt because of the death of his son that he was not in good standing with God. So an oath, he did not feel that he was good enough for. So what he did a certification. He put his hand on the Bible, and it wasn't even, no, I take it back, it wasn't a Bible, it was a legal book. So later on down the road, that's one of the reasons he explained it, because I thought it was just bad, bad with God, and here I am. So anyway, this sets us up, and he doesn't do much. He's another one where a lot of people is like, yeah, we're not backing you again, and they're on the next president we're going to go over is Buchanan, and Buchanan is pretty much he plunges us into the Civil War, and a lot of people believe he's completely, responsible for that. And we'll see it later on that, when he's not the greatest. So yeah, to this point, a lot of one-term presidents with Polk being the best because Polk was just, I'm going to do this, we're going to get this done. Yeah. So one of the last portions I'm going to get into is the UCMJ, and this is the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So in this one, it's going to be called the UCMJ, me please. So, or no, you're going up the flagpole. No, you're standing off the salads. So real quick before I get into this, I want to get into something that happened to me. And this is it's not just Marine Corps, it's officers. There was a lieutenant general that was coming by to see the work that we were doing on our work center. And there was another work center that was maybe a couple doors down from us that was getting inspected too. We were leading the Marine Corps in how to do certain things. We had gotten Shop of the Year, and we were just doing really good, and we found a way. What I did, I was asked how we can make one process better, and I confided within my enlisted sergeants and corporals how they could do a better job. Their idea proved to be superior, and we turned something that wasn't working for longer than 10 days to work longer than 6 months. So, of course, we got a lot of attention by their work and the way that I pimped them out by the way that they're doing. My marketing of what they were doing was going really well, and it helped us all. So a lot of people, a lot of generals wanted to come out and see how we were saving so much money off a certain generator that went off the F-18. So, this Lieutenant General, we were not told any way of doing this. All I remember is we had a PR group showed up, and we had our results put on these boards that went up with these easels that they brought in that we've never seen. So this PR stunt was to give this information to these generals, these admirals, everybody that was coming in to see what we were doing. So we were not told exactly how to prepare for this. So all I knew is that they were going to be there, and the Lieutenant General was the one that was in charge. And I saw him down at the shop that was maybe about 100 yards away. So it said, I got a phone call, said they're coming to see you, get ready. So what I did is I put my Marines outside, it was about 20 or 30 at the time, and put them at parade rest. And I stood in front of them, and I was going to call them to attention whenever they showed up, and then set them at ease. All right, well, I get up there, and the Lieutenant General's in front of me, and he was like, no, Gunny, calm him down, send him at ease. Okay, cool. So, and then that's when I gave him my brief of shop and how well we were doing. So everything goes well. Everybody's happy. I had got a lot of brigadier generals, major generals, admiral lower half, stuff like that. And they were like basically saying, this is amazing for what you're doing here, and we definitely, want to get on board with everything you're doing here. So, cool, we sold it, and I was like so happy. I was like, oh my God, this is great. And of course, I was so happy for my Marines and my one sailor that I had. I was like, you guys, this is all y'all, what y'all done, and the information you gave me and the decision that I was able to make by what y'all were doing and everything else. So, anyway, I get a call back from my OIC. And that's officer in charge, and he was like, hey, look, I need you to come down. It's like, fuck, it didn't sound good. It's like, we just noticed this at a fucking park, man. Problems. So I go down there, and I was like, ask him, so you need to report to you? He was like, no, I need a time. I was like, oh, shit. Okay, this Lieutenant General thought he was something, all right? And obviously by the rank, Lieutenant General, that means he is fucking something. I'll give you that. Problem is, this Lieutenant General was pissed off because I had my Marines at parade list when he got down. He didn't like that. He didn't like the Marines re-waiting or something like that. Whatever. He was fucking on the rag, obviously, and didn't like what was going on. And he told my OIC to fire me because of this. So, everything we'd done, and everything we'd orchestrated, and he wanted me to not be in charge of my shop anymore because my Marines were at parade rest from now. And I was just like, man, fuck this dude. Fuck him with a big rubber dick. I'm serious. This is like, why in the fuck would you do this? And why would you think that you're so damn special you could disappear in someone's life for 5 minutes and destroy it? Because if you fire me, I can't get promoted for the rest of my life. And my OIC goes, he looks at me, and it was so cool because we don't use first names. And he goes, Joe. He almost said it, and he goes, Gunny, I ain't fired. And I was like, man, he was going to push me. He goes, I ain't firing. But I just want you to know I got your back. And I was like, wow, okay. I mean, even if the whole damn thing of him even talking, it's just, yeah. Anyway, that's one of the bad tastes I had in the Marine Corps. Shit like this. That people just go out of their way to make things worse. And one of the greatest adages I've ever heard about the Marine Corps is that Marine Corps is fine. It's Marines that suck. And this just proves it. And to tell you the truth, that guy is so lucky that I do not remember his name, because if I did, I'd be going out of my way to make his life hell. I mean, like, I'd sneak into his house every day and fucking hide his remote control to his TV. Or take his mouse, off his computer or something like that. It's just, that right there, you just fuck with. Anyway, I'll just go ahead and leave that there. So the whole thing with UCMJ is pretty much UCMJ are articles that whenever you write somebody up for making trouble, you bounce them off this. Someone reads it and go, all right, cool. We're setting them up. We're charging them on this. So the one I picked today was a fun one, and it's one of the ones that sticks in everybody's head. This one is Article 83, malingering. Now, malingering is feigning, and this is a new word. I had to look this one up. Feigning is faking something for personal benefit. Faking an injury, whatever it is. So feigning is faking. It's just really quick that way. Malingering is to say that you're injured when you're not. So, to miss a deployment, to not run that day, or mental health is another one. To avoid any certain activity or assignment because of mental health. Okay, and basically to read off, it's criminal offense of feigning mental or physical illness or intentionally hurting oneself in order to avoid military duties. While this military-specific offense may sound archaic, malingering is still prosecuted in the military and carries serious punishment. So, yeah, there's that. And that, to me, that's... I've seen several elements of it. Several people faking shit to get out of certain deployments. I had one female that got hit up because she went out and got herself pregnant. Claimed she was pregnant, so she wouldn't have to go on the deployment. And she came out to be negative, never was pregnant, and they hit her up for heart load 3 or 4. So, there's that. So, yeah, just faking anything to get out of anything so you could not have to do something. So, that one is that. So, yeah, I'm going to have a couple more of those, a couple better ones I'm going to read through them. But malingering, I've actually seen a lot of that happening. So people say, oh yeah, I've got dysentery. Because he come up with, I got the bubonic plague or something like that, so they can't run. Just some shit like that. So, yeah, so with the presidents, we went over the ones we had. The next one we have is Buchanan, and obviously getting into Lincoln. So those two are going to be, Buchanan is, believe it or not, the last couple besides Polk, where he's a little more interesting than them, but not looked at very well. In fact, he's looked at to be the worst, right below Nixon, believe it or not. So just because he plunges, what they believe to be plunges the United States into the Civil War, and not to mention on top of these, he's arguably the first gay president that we had, and as the term of the day was called Aunt Nancy, and that he was dating Rufus King. I think that was Pierce's vice president, if I'm not mistaken. George Rufus King. I know his last name is Rufus King. Anyway, called an Aunt Nancy, and he's known to perfume his beard and stuff like that. So anyway, there's that. So yeah, y'all have any ideas? Just shoot them down there in the comments, and yeah, stay frosty. I'm counting out.
A bunch of ball washing bastards.